Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. It's a triple threat day with tropical action, dangerous heat, and deadly wildfires. Last night, New Mexico's governor declaring a state of emergency for the fires there. And in California, large new wildfires are growing even as firefighters have increased containment of the blazes that erupted earlier this week. This says FEMA is petitioned to include wildfire smoke and extreme heat as major disasters, just like hurricanes. And Texas is facing a possible tropical storm. If the storm develops, it will be called Alberto, the first tropical storm of the season. Russian President Vladimir Putin making an official visit to Pyongyang, meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The two leaders vowing closer ties in the face of rivalry with the West. Putin's visit comes amid growing concerns about the arms arrangement in which North Korea provides Russia with weapons to fuel Moscow's war in Ukraine in exchange for economic assistance and technology. Baseball Hall of Famer Willie Mays has died at 93 years old. The legendary Say Hey Kid played the majority of his career for the Giants, first in New York, then in San Francisco, when the team relocated to the West Coast. Mays, who was synonymous with baseball, was considered one of the greatest players of all time. Those are your headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez, and the heat continues to be a big story across the Northeast with a high of 95 degrees in Bangor, Maine, some mid-90s in Chicago and St. Louis. We have the hot weather. We've had the wildfires in the Southwest, but it's still cool. Great Falls, Montana, just 69 degrees. Some areas of rain and thunderstorms will be moving across Kansas, Missouri, with Chicago and Milwaukee a chance of rain today.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. I'm Bree Driscoll. Today is Wednesday, June 19th. Our top story, it's a triple threat day with tropical action, dangerous heat, and deadly wildfires. Last night, New Mexico's governor declaring a state of emergency for the fires there. This is FEMA's petition to include wildfire smoke and extreme heat as major disasters, just like hurricanes. Spectrum News anchor Jenny Enoch has more.
A heat wave is taking over the country, one that's breaking records and calling on officials to pull out all the stops to keep people safe.
We don't need any fancy data to tell us this. It's going to be extremely hot and uncomfortable. In fact, it'll be dangerously hot.
New York's governor is activating the National Guard and opening cooling centers. And the heat isn't just blazing in New York. Major cities like Chicago and Boston are up against temperatures higher than they've seen in decades. The official start of summer is tomorrow, as hurricane season is. National Hurricane Center predicts a tropical system will unload torrential rains, bringing flooding to parts of Central America and parts of Mexico.
But this mark right here, that's how high the water was.
The Texas Gulf Coast could see rain between 2 and 7 inches as that area braces for flooding again.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, the feeling. You hear about things, you hear about people during fires, but until you have to evacuate, until you're in the middle of it, you just don't know. It's just unexplainable how you feel.
And the wildfires rage on the West Coast, forcing so many to evacuate their homes.
It's going to take a lot to get everything back. But, as long as lives are saved and, homes are always replaceable.
Smoke filled the sky in New Mexico, where officials say one person is dead from the blaze. In California, several fires are burning across the state. More than 1,000 firefighters are working to contain them since Saturday, as they face more challenges with the Arrow fire that erupted in a matter of days, just 100 miles east of San Francisco. Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un signing a new partnership deal today, vowing mutual aid if either country is attacked. The two leaders meeting today as both face escalating standoffs with the West. Spectrum's national reporter Angie Gonzalez has more.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un welcomed Russian President Vladimir Putin to Pyongyang today with an official ceremony before the two sat down for talks. At the start of their meeting, Kim promised North Korea's full support for Russia's war in Ukraine. Both have previously denied allegations of arms transfers, which would be a violation of multiple UN Security Council resolutions. The two leaders, however, did sign a new agreement aimed at boosting as both fight against heavy U.S. sanctions.
We've seen, as you said, Russia try in desperation to develop and to strengthen relations with countries that can provide it with what it needs to continue the war of aggression that it started against Ukraine.
Part of the Biden administration's strategy in assisting Ukraine has been to diminish Russia's ability to continue the war with things like sanctions. U.S. officials have also expressed concerns about greater economic and technological cooperation between Russia and North Korea and how it could enhance the threat posed by Kim's nuclear weapons and missile program.
Deepening cooperation between Russia and the DPRK is a trend that should be of great concern to anyone interested in maintaining peace and stability in the Korean Peninsula.
Before this trip, it had been 24 years since Putin last visited the capital of North Korea. Putin did meet with Kim in Russia in September of last year. In Washington, Angie Gonzalez.
In Russia has been sentenced for theft and threatening to kill his girlfriend. According to Russian state news, U.S. Staff Sergeant Gordon Black has been sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in jail. His lawyer said Black will appeal. Black had traveled to Russia to visit the woman. He was accused of stealing money from her and assaulting her. State media reports Black partially admitted to the theft, but not to charges of threatening to kill the woman, who Black met in South Korea. Senate Republicans blocking an attempt by Democrats to pass a federal bill to ban bump stocks for firearms last night. The bill prohibits the sale of the device. The bump stocks can modify a semi-automatic rifle to fire bullets more quickly at hundreds of rounds a minute. The Supreme Court struck down a federal ban on the gun modification last week. The ban was previously approved by former President Donald Trump in the wake of the Las Vegas shooting in 2017, where bump stocks were used. 60 people were killed and more than 400 were injured in U.S. history. Well, the second largest school district in the U.S. voting to ban students from using cell phones and social media during school hours. The Los Angeles School Board voted in favor yesterday. It will take effect in 2025, and the school board intends to seek input from students, parents, and staff on how to best implement it. The ban coming after the U.S. Surgeon General called for mental health warning labels to be added to social media platforms. Baseball Hall of Famer Willie Mays has died. The legendary Say Hey Kid played the majority of his career for the Giants, first in New York, then in San Francisco, when the team relocated to the West Coast. The Giants posting the news on the team's social media accounts, saying the 93-year-old passed away peacefully yesterday afternoon. Mays, who was synonymous with baseball, was considered one of the greatest players of all time.
There's a long drive, way back in center field, way back, it is gone!
Catch from the 1954 World Series against the Cleveland Indians has lived on in memory for decades. Mays could do it all: hit, catch, run, and throw, leading to 24 All-Star appearances and the Hall of Fame. Coming up on our political buzz, a tight primary race in Virginia, plus President Biden's relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the spotlight.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation.
Turn 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. Case. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez, and we continue with the heat in the North as we continue to watch the tropics, and I'll have more on that coming up in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the heat wave. We have this area of high pressure. Record high temperatures continue to be possible for today. Yesterday, Hartford, Connecticut, 95 degrees. That was a record, and the flow around this area of high pressure results in above normal temperatures, 20 to 25 degrees above normal, including in parts of Maine, all the way back and through Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan too. So the temperature today is expected to reach the mid-90s in St. Louis and in Chicago. Lexington, Kentucky is 90 degrees today, 96 in Albany, and look at these mid-90s. Parts of Vermont and Maine, Boston at 96 degrees. Tomorrow, it's going to be hot in New York at 90, Philadelphia at 93 degrees, but Boston could be up to 97 degrees. Same thing in Albany and Syracuse. Another warnings here. Some of these advisories go through 8 o'clock Saturday night. So there's going to be additional days where you need to take extra care. Make sure you're in air conditioning. If you have to be outside, stay hydrated and make sure that you're taking frequent breaks, trying to get in the shade from time to time. Now, for parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes, we have these scattered showers and storms around, but we also have very heavy rain in Texas, where we have flooding concerns here, in addition to tropical storm force winds in South Texas as we watch that disturbance in the western Gulf of Mexico. That's going to bring flooding concerns in places like South Padre Island, Corpus Christi, and Galveston. Some areas here could have about 5 to 8 inches of rain, but we could see some locally higher amounts at about 10 to 12 inches of rain in the coming days. We'll have more on this coming up.
If you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. It's a triple threat day with tropical action, dangerous heat, and deadly wildfires. Last night, New Mexico's governor declaring a state of emergency for the fires there. This as FEMA is petitioned to include wildfire smoke and extreme heat as major disasters like hurricanes. Russian President Vladimir Putin making an official visit to Pyongyang, meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The two leaders vowing closer ties in face of rivalry with the West. And Baseball Hall of Famer Willie Mays has died at 93 years old. The legendary Say Hey Kid played the majority of his career for the Giants. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. 11 people are in the hospital after a home in the city of Syracuse, New York exploded yesterday. In the video here, you can see emergency crews working through the intense evening heat. Sif was trapped inside. Authorities say one of those hospitalized was a child who was inside a car buried beneath the wreckage when rescuers arrived. New York Governor Kathy Hochul saying she spoke with the mayor and offered the state's assistance. One of America's most conservative congressmen is locked in a tight battle against an opponent endorsed by former President Donald Trump in Virginia's primary election yesterday. For more on this, we are joined by Jason Fechner for this morning's Political Buzz. Jason, break down this race in Virginia for us.
Bree, good morning. Welcome to Virginia's 5th. On one side of the aisle, as you mentioned there, you've got U.S. Representative Bob Good. On the same side of the aisle, you've got State Senator John McGuire. A difference of roughly 327 votes or so going into Wednesday. Too close to call in Virginia's 5th right now. So a lot of people might be wondering, how against this state senator? Well, go back a few months and Representative Good had endorsed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in the Republican primary race at the time. DeSantis, of course, dropped out. He then endorsed former President Donald Trump. Well, that's not good enough for Trump, who went on to endorse the state senator there in this race. He said that Good had stabbed him in the back. I think there was a political ad out saying that Good would do the same thing to his constituents there in Virginia and stab them in the back just like he did to Trump. So you've got this hardline conservative against a Trump supported state senator there. Fascinating to watch. It's Juneteenth, of course, on Wednesday. So all things are shut down right now. We're going to have to wait and see what happens in this too close to call race.
It's really interesting to see the power of the Trump endorsement there. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu releasing a video claiming the U.S. is withholding weapons from Israel. The White House denying those accusations. Jason, let's talk about what's happening right now as Netanyahu is set to visit the U.S. next month.
And some say that this is the worst the relation has been now between Netanyahu and Biden since last October when the war there in Gaza broke out. So what you have is this video that had come out, Netanyahu making these claims that the U.S. is withholding all of these weapons. The White House pushing back immediately saying, well, we've sent billions in weapons to you, and we have now postponed simply one shipment of weapons. A lot of reporting on the administration being really caught off guard and offended by this video. So this high-level meeting that was set to take place on Thursday about Iran between the U.S. and Israel, that is now called off. Some saying it's simply postponed. There are some smaller level meetings still set to take place, but clearly a very public rebuke of Netanyahu in this video since it has come out. So another fascinating element to watch as this push for a ceasefire continues right now, and a push to see what happens between Netanyahu and Biden and whether or not the two will meet face-to-face in Washington, and whether or not one will snub the other. So fascinating to watch it all play out.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts in this one. And finally, Jason, you're in Milwaukee, and we have new developments in the so-called horrible city controversy. What's happening now?
For those just getting up to speed on this, Trump reportedly had referred to Milwaukee as a horrible city in a meeting with congressional Republicans last week. He later came out to say he was talking about the crime here or election integrity. He's long complained that Milwaukee cost him the election in 2020. The RNC, of course, set to take place here in a matter of weeks. Trump was back in Racine, Wisconsin, campaigning yesterday, saying he loves Milwaukee. The reason it's coming to Milwaukee is because Trump made the selection. Well, reporting had come out yesterday that Trump is not planning to stay in Milwaukee during the convention, that he's actually planning to stay down in Chicago, which is about an hour and 15-minute drive from Milwaukee, a 15-minute plane ride, very close. Well, they've pushed back on that now, saying, no, he's booked for the convention. Hotels all across southeast Wisconsin, northern Illinois, booked up for the RNC. So very curious to see whether or not he indeed stays in Wisconsin or stays down in Chicago at Trump Tower. Airbnbs are booked up, so we might put this up onto Airbnb at the last second here and see if we can really get thousands of dollars as other people have in Milwaukee to rent out their home for the convention as well.
All right, we're going to have to see, where does he stay? Jason, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Coming up on Spectrum News, it is the stuff of sci-fi movies, why you could soon be speaking to a hologram for a checkup.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing stories across the nation, with balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
morning. I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez watching the tropics for you this morning. And we have an area here east of the Bahamas that has some potential to develop. But our eyes have been on the Gulf of Mexico. We've been talking about this system here. It's called a potential tropical cyclone because it's not well organized enough to be given a name yet, but it is getting better organized this morning. So we're expecting this to become Tropical Storm Alberto as it works its way westward toward Mexico, likely moving on to the coast sometime late tonight or tomorrow morning. These winds of tropical storm force over 40 miles per hour extend over 400 miles north of the center. So when you look at that cone and you even look at the spaghetti model plot here, they're in agreement. It's going to work its way onto the Mexico coast, extend all the way up here into parts of Texas. It's because of that widespread area of tropical storm force winds over 400 miles north of the center. So a reminder that as we go through the season, impacts can be felt outside of the cone. This is a perfect example of this because we have heavy rain here. We have the tropical storm warning in place, places like Corpus Christi, up into Galveston, South Padre Island, South Texas, not only strong winds, but also the threat of additional flooding. It's just been pouring in some spots already this morning. So a risk of excessive rainfall includes parts of the Midwest, but look at parts of South Texas, and that's where we have a level 3 out of 4 risk of getting so much rain in such a short amount of time that we're going to have flash flooding concerns. Now, this is just one of several models we look at. This is the GFS American model, but it's showing some areas like San Antonio, southward, some areas here near the Mexico border that could get up to the 8 to 12 inches of rain possible. With that area that I talked about, far away from Florida, far away from the Carolinas now, some development is possible as it works its way toward the southeast coast by the end of the week. Meanwhile, we continue to see showers and some storms breaking out across the central part of the country. Heavy downpours and some thunderstorms in Nebraska and into Minnesota too. Then we have more of that rain and very strong winds across the Gulf of Mexico with that tropical system. Meanwhile, scattered showers and some storms will continue in parts of New York.
Pop music icon Justin Timberlake is awaiting a July court date after being charged with a DWI on Long Island yesterday. Police say the 43-year-old was pulled over after running a stop sign and failing to document shows the singer's eyes were bloodshot and he performed poorly on the sobriety test. He's been released without bail and is due back in court on July 26th. Team USA revealing its uniforms for the upcoming Summer Olympics. The outfits were designed by Ralph Lauren, who says they were inspired by Paris fashion. But the fashion icon wanted to embrace a patriot spirit as well. During the opening ceremony, Team USA will wear a navy blazer with red and white detailing, a striped Oxford shirt, and a navy tie and light denim jeans. In a groundbreaking move, a hospital just south of Dallas, Texas, has become the first in the United States to utilize advanced hologram technology for patient care. Spectrum's Emily Pounds has more on how the innovative approach is transforming the healthcare experience.
We're having to really redefine and look at other ways of delivering healthcare.
Crescent Regional Hospital, just 30 minutes south of, with the installation of a life-size 3D holographic technology, allowing doctors to connect with patients in real time.
Connects, this is really cool. I've never seen this before.
You know, we actually heard about this technology and that this hologram technology was being utilized in the retail space.
The hospital partnered with HoloConnects, a 3D holographic solutions company based in the Netherlands, bringing this cutting-edge technology called HoloBox to life. Steve Sterling, HoloConnects Managing Director for North America, explains the potential of this innovation.
We really see an opportunity to sort of grow across certainly the healthcare business, from everything from urgent cares, giving people access to doctors from a distance or specialists from a longer distance.
Plans are in place to add smaller 24-inch mini-display clinics.
Sometimes, you know, our surgeons are not always readily available to talk to a patient before discharging them. They're probably busy doing another surgery or somewhere else. So this way they're able to directly interact with the patient and be able to do a discharge with the patient. The patient feels like the specialist was right there in front of them.
The hospital on the brink of closure now revitalized, offering patients the ability to schedule virtual consultations with specialists from Dallas or anywhere around the globe.
We're not the people who are going to affect patient outcomes, but we are absolutely the people who are going to enhance the doctor-patient relationship and a sense of engagement.
In Lancaster, Emily Pounds, Spectrum News.
And you can also stay connected with us anywhere through our Spectrum News app. You can get your national and local headlines available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource, strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."